I think California is still the hub, in my opinion. We have the best fighters. We have the best talent. We have a lot of amazing, rising stars that are coming up. Our main focus and our goal is to make sure that our fans keep coming back. And I think we've been doing a great job of that. Not just from the matchmaking and the fight point of it, but we really do provide a really fun night of event for everybody to come out and enjoy. You can't just become a matchmaker overnight. And you got people just popping up and becoming I'm a matchmaker. Like, okay. But build a fight card. I started promoting when I was Ryan's age. I was 27 when I did my first event. It was so much fucking work. I had to get an IV. I had to, lay in bed for 2 weeks. I didn't do another show for another 9 months after that. Imagine, everything that we do with UNF with literally 10 to 15 people. Me and Steve used to do that with just me and him. I would have to do everything that you did, Ryan did, Vicky did, Christina did, Sherelle did, Miriam did. It's just amazing to have a team where I just have to worry about maybe like three of those things instead of 20 of those things.
Ryan, we're sitting here with the GOAT.
We're sitting here with the GOAT. What's going on, GOAT?
Oh, it's early morning, sitting here with two of my favorites.
Yeah, rumor has it you got no sleep last night.
Last 2 nights, but, who needs sleep, right?
No, when you're the GOAT and you make the best matches around town, you don't need sleep.
This is true. Let's get straight to it, George.
Let's do it.
You've been doing this over 15 years. I really am super impressed by the matches that you make. And I know it's no easy task.
It actually becomes a pretty easy task when you do it for so long. Fights kind of like fall into place. Like, if you're sitting at UNF 14 and, you watch, like 3 fights at 145, you're like, all right, okay, that guy won. All right, that would be a good matchup. Like literally right after the event, you're already hitting up managers and coaches and, your main event or co-main event is set for the next one. And then it just kind of rolls. Like you just flow.
Yeah, I think you kind of undersell it a little bit. I think there's so much more to it, Ryan. I mean, because I think like making good matches, it's not only about the talent of the athletes, but it's their popularity because you've got to get fans in the door too.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's like a science and an art, honestly, with matchmaking to make sure you craft that good card that George tends to do time and time again.
But Ryan, George and Ryan do, not just George.
No, I'm giving you your flowers.
I know,
yeah, this is about you today. So
I my personality. I don't like anything to be about me. It's about our team because although the matchups are great, the product and the entire event wouldn't be the same because you could watch a very good fight, but if the surroundings are not what they're supposed to be, it just kind of takes it down like 10 notches. So this is a team effort. And I'm given the opportunity because of the great team around me to put those great fights together. Because, there are some fights where in the past, I probably wouldn't be able to afford to put those two guys together. But just, because of the support and because of just, go and make great fights by the team, it makes my job so much easier where I don't have to worry about that because I know, the entire team knows I'm doing this for the greater good of the entire team and the future UNF.
yeah, I think this is kind of a culmination. Like if sit and talk with you and Steve, a culmination of your career in a way, right? You've been in this game 15 years. You've run a couple other promotions. And I think that the secret sauce has really come together with UNF. Like I've followed you from, for over 10 plus years, right? And I think you've just leveled up. And I think that UNF now brings all the key components together.
Yeah, well, I mean, of course. Imagine, everything that we do, with UNF with literally 10 to 15 people. Me and Steve used to do that with just me and him.
Yeah.
Like I would have to do everything that you did, Ryan did, Vicky did, Christina did, Sherelle did, Miriam did, Fred did, Mona did. Like I was everybody. And Steve, was doing a lot of things basically to offset a lot of the other stuff that I had to do. I'm like, man, it's just amazing to have a team where I just have to worry about maybe like three of those things instead of 20 of those things.
Yeah, well, I think that's what makes UNF special, Ryan.
Yeah, no, I think you were hitting it on the head. I think our jobs, matchmaking really does become a lot easier too when you have a great team behind you and you're building a great brand, and fighters want to be a part of kind of what we build and what we put together. But what do you think is the most difficult part of matchmaking? I mean, I know you wear a lot of hats, but like strictly matchmaking, what's the most difficult part about that job? I have a couple things to say, but
I mean, I think I honestly, I don't. There's really nothing difficult
George, you're
anymore.
so bullshitting right now.
I'm not-
You complain all the time, and now you're on the mic. Now it's like everything's great. Working with these athletes is so easy. It all comes together. Come on, baby goat.
Well, there's, like, I wouldn't say difficult. There's obstacles, but again, you overcome those obstacles easily when.
Have you turned into a motivational speaker this morning?
I have, and
You're just trying to put the
my book's
positive
coming
spin
out
on
next week.
do we have a bucket of ice water you could dip your head in? Have you?
I did that in the morning. Didn't help. Look at my
the
face.
story of the goat.
No, what I think probably the most difficult part becomes where the coach and the manager don't agree on a fighter's like path, and it's not really like something that us as matchmakers could control. It's like, hey, like the coach is like, oh, I love this fight, book it, and then like when you send the bout agreement, then the manager sees it on social media, like, oh, you don't fucking talk to me. I'm like, well, I mean, talk to the coach, but the fighter said just talk to me.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, but I honestly didn't even think this guy had management. And again, it's very few instances that happens, but that just becomes such a headache where now you got to tell the opponent, hey, sorry, like
that's the worst. I hate like when you kind of come to an agreement, whatever it may be, and then a coach, manager, fighter changes his mind the next day, like, oh, actually, I wanted 5 pounds up, or actually, I can't fight that day. You're just like, oh,
yeah. That's so hard for me to get my head around, right? Like, because I hear these stories behind the scenes,
and it happens often.
No, I know. I've learned. You guys have taught me really well, like what the real, behind the curtain sort of looks like. Because I think with Up Next, you kind of have a curtain, right? It looks pretty, it looks great, but behind that curtain, there's so much that really goes on.
Yeah, it's we have controlled chaos. And, again, when I come to the office, we sit down, we're like, looking at each other, like, Ryan's like, can you believe this fucking guy, said he's going to do this? And he just literally backed out like 37 minutes after he just told me it was good. And I'm like, yeah.
George's like, yeah, welcome to the fight game, Ryan.
Yeah, it's cool.
So do you consider Ryan the baby goat?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Ryan, for the amount of time he's been doing this, to, like how much he's evolved in the game. I'm very proud of him.
Why are you proud of him?
Oh,
because of the effort I see, because of the love I see. It's, like, yes, you are mentoring him and you're doing a lot for him, but he's not, like I've seen younger guys and kids get spoiled because of like, their parents giving them everything. But Ryan, he's like, like I am given this opportunity. And he's taken that and putting, like quadruple the effort into it because, he obviously loves the fight game. Second, he doesn't want to fail you because you're so invested into his future in UNF. And again, this is a very, very difficult business to be in. Very difficult business. And the graveyard is, like they're digging more holes every day.
Yeah.
And, like for you to... But you believe in him,
Yeah, I totally believe in him.
Yeah, I agree.
I believe in him.
Thank you for saying those words, George. I appreciate it. But
and just, to kind of, a couple of more words, like I started promoting when I was Ryan's age. I was 27 when I did my first event.
Wow, that's crazy.
I had no clue what promotions was, and I'll tell you why I did it, because I went to Dennis Warner's WCK Muay Thai at the Hollywood Park. One of our friends was fighting. I looked around. I was like, oh my God, this guy's making a killing. And I was
looks start deceiving sometimes.
I had just finished fighting maybe 4 years prior to that. I was kind of getting into the management game a little bit. I met some people in Thailand where I did some good work with boxing and, a couple of world champions. But, like, I was like, wow, like managing, you get a little percentage. I'm like, looking around, like, people love him. He's wearing a cool suit. He's going into the ring. Everybody's trying to fucking talk to him. I'm like, I want to do this. Man, after my first show, I had to get an IV. I had to, like lay in bed for 2 weeks. it was so much fucking work.
Yeah.
I was like, I didn't do another show for another 9 months after that.
Yeah.
But, like, that's why I understand, like, it's not like, hey, yeah, my dad put me into this. I'm Brian Buckner and, Mr. UNF. No, like, he's got pressure. Like, there's a lot of pressure. And the way he handles the pressure is I'm very impressed by that.
Yeah. Wow, look at those kind words.
Yeah, it's really nice. It's really nice to come from the GOAT. Well, I think it's also, a culmination of the people, who's end up next, right? Like I got mentors like you, my pops, and I do love it, right? And I'd never want to be considered a spoiled person and whatnot, but, it's also I'm 27. I look at you guys and, I love working with you guys, but I want to make a name for myself. And I know that's, in no way can you not be
want to
hardworking.
take over the title of GOAT? Is that what you're trying to say? You don't want to be the baby GOAT?
There's going to be one day where George, needs to step down, right? And needs to relax, retire, live the life. I would love nothing more than to take over the name GOAT and continue his legacy and what he's done in combat sports.
I'm willing to share the name right now.
That way you and I can be sitting at the VIP tables with Tina and Vicky, just drinking and enjoying the fights I was putting on.
Literally, like, a lot of my friends and, people that are, know me and they come to the shows and they support.
Yeah.
A lot of people, like, I don't have too many new friends. And people, one of the things is, like, people use the word brother, and friend very loosely these days.
I'm one of those.
Brother and bro is for me. Yeah, I think I call everyone that.
But like, and it's cool because it's become the norm, right? People say those things, but I literally have 15 to 20 to 25 real brothers and friends. I'm an only child, but I've had to, like, all of my friends have been my friends for 25 plus years. I'm still friends with my first friend I met in America when we migrated to America. My second, my third. All of those guys are still my friends. And they always support. You guys see them at the tables. They're always, they come and they show love. Like, they want to see me succeed. But there's other people that I'm still close with, and they come to a UNF event, and, like, I've had comments where it's like, bro, you guys killed it. Like, why are you driving an Audi, or why are you driving a Tesla? Why aren't you getting a Lamborghini? I'm like, this motherfucker probably thinks I'm making $1 million right now.
Listen, though, when you do, like, I've had, like, friends who I knew from high school saw me doing them next. Hey, I'm gonna come to the next event. You see them there, and they're there, and their eyes are open, like, oh, damn, you guys are killing it, huh? This is freaking great. You guys are like the next UFC. It's just like,
right. Well, what again? Some of the people don't know the difference between UFC or UNF or, like, Bellator, PFL, just right. Because to them, like, a lot of my friends call our promotion, oh, you guys promote UFC. Like,
yeah,
sure. Okay, if you want to call it that.
Well, I think it's a testament to the team. Like, we've done such a good job putting on a great show and great fan experience, right? Where we haven't focused on monetizing. We haven't focused, we're not pinching pennies. We want that experience both for the athletes and the fans to be amazing. But I think what's kind of really cool and special, George, is your support network. The Armenian community especially really comes out for you and really supports you and really supports UNF.
Well, again, so I'm going to continue on that. Why aren't you driving a Lamborghini or why? Well, and those are, close people that I could share, what's happening with the UNF, the landscape and what we're doing. And when they hear, how much we're doing to basically make MMA thrive in California.
Yep.
And, like, a lot of my friends are Armenians. So for them, it's like, oh, fuck, man, you've done so much for the Armenians. You've put this guy into the UFC. This guy only fought, on all of your promotions. You guys are doing amazing things. So when, these guys see all of that, they're like, well, fuck, we got to step up our game. We just don't want to come in and, like, buy tickets. I have this company and now I want to sponsor. Here's $5,000. And, again, like, shout out to all of our sponsors, right? We have Alpha Man, Mill Clinic. We have Alan Serafian,
Nurbo
Poketomic, Nurbo T,
Nazarian, Osepian.
Yep, all of them.
It's kind of, there's a common thread with all the names there. Did you notice?
Yeah, what's the thread?
Yeah, I mean, and that's what I love. I love, like, the community and how they back you. And I think what's really cool is, like, now by us partnering together, the community we're bringing to, right, and different, but it's really kind of cool and special. But, they
want to see it, Chris. They want to see because I haven't been a selfish person my entire life. I wanted to see other people succeed, and all of these guys see it. Like the guys at V, Chris and Armand, they've been supporting UNF going all the way back to lights out at the Sportsman's Lodge to chaos at the casino to Extreme Muay Thai Challenge. Like they've been backing me for 17, 18 years.
Well, I think, again, and I don't want to toot the Up Next horn in a way, but I think, all your hard work is now compiled into what I call sort of best practices, right? Now you've really built an organization. And now I think the pieces of the puzzle can come together to get that big content deal or get national sponsors. I mean, I think Up Next is sort of in that position in 2025, this year, next year, to make that happen.
Yeah, I think we're knocking on the door. It's just, which, people are going to open doors. And then I believe we're going to be in a position to choose which door we walk into.
Yeah.
Because, people come for the experience. And again, a lot of people come to a UNF event. They can't tell the difference if they're at a UFC event or a UNF event, just because we put so much into UNF to make every single fan that walks in there feel like, like I want to come to this event. There's been multiple people that I've talked to that came in to support one fighter, and I've seen those guys 6 or 7 events in a row when that fighter was not even on the card because they had such a great time.
Yeah.
They feel it. Every single person that's there feels it because, dude, you're over there putting in 40,000 steps an event. Like, you don't have to do that. You could hire somebody else to open that cage door. But I know why you do it. You want to be there in the center to make sure everything is functioning the right way, And that's why people feel it, people see it, like we could do everything, right?
Well, everybody on team truly works their ass off.
Yeah.
If you really, really think about it. And I don't think, the owner, any of the owners don't act like owners, we're just part of that team. You know what I mean? I think that's what's important.
But that's once one person thinks they're above anybody else in the team, that team's going to crumble and we're going to go into that graveyard. But I think, we just have that, the family aspect of it where everybody respects the other person. Like I love Vicky. She's like my sister, right?
Well, I'm glad you love her.
I love her too.
Yeah, Vicky's amazing.
You think so? I love Tina. I think Tina's amazing.
Yeah, well, again,
I love Tina too.
Coming to that, like everybody's involved. Like without the support of Tina and Vicky and, for them to say, keep doing this, it's going to be hard because, when there's that kind of like, oh man, you're what are you doing? Are you playing this MMA game? Or if you hear that, it just kind of like pushes. But to me, it's like Tina's like, yeah, you want to do UNF? I got your back. Go all the way. Same thing with your family. And your family's actually involved. They're working.
No, every single person in my family is involved.
Yeah, so
even Kaya and Noah at times.
Yeah. And
our crazy, his mother-in-law, my crazy soft is now officially
you want to hear
involved
what
too.
happened?
Please.
Oh wait, I didn't hear a story.
Like the newer boutique thing.
Oh, I didn't hear anything about it. I just heard that she was in the video.
Yeah, so my mother-in-law, Newer Boutique, one of our great sponsors, right? So we went out recently to film a promo video. My mother-in-law went, and she's supposedly going to be part of the promo video.
Oh,
yeah.
And she got so excited. She put her makeup on, bro. Like, it was this, like, big fucking deal. Like, they're doing it. I think it's going to air, shortly right before Mother's Day.
Okay.
It's a Mother's Day promo, and that's why Vicky went out and filmed, too. But
I mean, if you've
we
been
stooped
to
to a
Newark,
new level if we included my mother-in-law.
we went to.
That's messed up.
I mean,
Sorry.
we're getting everybody involved, like everybody. But I mean, if you've been to Noor Boutique, me and Tina were going to a friend's open house, right? She's like, we walked in there. She's like, let me go grab something really quick. Come out. I'm like, okay, all right.
My wife did not walk out empty-handed, by the way.
I'm like, what are you doing? She's like, oh, there's something really nice for the house. She's wrapping it. I'm like, we're supposed to buy something for somebody else. What are you doing in there?
My wife did the same thing, bro. She said there's such cool stuff that she goes, hey man, if we ever going to redecorate the house or do anything, I really want to go there.
Yeah, she has great things. She's a big supporter.
See, and that's what's so cool when you get, I mean, anybody can, I don't want to say it this way, but a lot of people can cut a check.
Yep.
But when people cut a check to support both our athletes and UNF as a whole, and they're really invested, that just goes a long way. Like the guy from Poketomic.
Yeah.
Love that guy.
Yeah,
you know,
he's
came
awesome.
here, content day, fed all the athletes, huge smile on his face. And, you know, he just wants to be a part of it. That just makes it so much more fulfilling.
Well, a lot of these the sponsors that we have, right, like Poketomic, he trains with them. He trains at Hayastan.
Yeah.
with the
I had no
guys.
clue.
Me
Yeah.
neither, me
Yeah,
neither.
like Noor's kids, they train at Hayastan with the guys. So for her, it's like I want to support, you know, like, but I know that, you know, just by supporting the guys, it doesn't, you know, like I just want to do more. So she's like, what can I do? And I was like, hey, you know, there's these packages where we could kind of like customize it for you. I was like, oh, I love that. I didn't know we could do that. So boom, she's on board.
Yeah, I think it's pretty cool too, like that personal touch you give them too. Like you have the photos went up into canvases that you presented to the sponsors and stuff. I thought that was really cool of you to do.
Yeah, and you know, they all enjoy it. You know, some sponsors get nothing from it as far as, you know, like
Financially. Yeah.
but they're there to support because, you know, sometimes it's networking, right? When you get an attorney sponsor like Nazarian and you get Ovsepian in the same room,
The chiropractor and the
Yeah,
lawyer. What
yeah,
a
like
perfect
boom, boom,
marriage
boom,
right,
right?
there.
then you get the real estate agent in with a loan broker.
Yeah.
Like, they're
And the State Farm
they're gonna
guy,
talk. You know.
Alan, get Alan
exactly.
in there.
So for
Yeah.
them, honestly, for Alan, Alpha Men, you know, like they just love it. They like the support.
You got to give those guys the credit too, because they just bring the energy to the
Yeah.
events too, right?
Yeah, they really
Right.
do.
Yeah.
But it's again, those guys really, you know, there's times where I get tired, right? I'm like, man, like,
All of us, yeah.
when are you, okay, when am I going to make money doing
When are
this?
we going to, when
Yeah,
are
well,
checks going to start to
exactly.
be written to everybody?
But like, it's
Yeah.
like, you know, then somebody hits me up. It's like, hey, when is the next event, bro? Like, you know, like my fans were so excited. You know, like I want to bring out the whole team. I'm like, okay, right. Well, it's May 31st now. Here it is. This is the lineup. I was like, oh, how many, you know, who's fighting? I'm like, well, you know, like, remember the two champions that, you know, they won belts. Now they're going to fight each other. It's like, oh shit. You know, they get excited. It's like, which Armenians are on the card? This. I'm like, oh fuck. So they have become more than just fans. Like some of the sponsors and, you know, just fans call me and start talking about matchups and stuff.
Well, you got both of you guys, right? I mean, the matchmaking, I think the matchmaking is where it starts, right? This can never be successful if you're just putting two cans together. You guys have recruited the best talent from the Rising Stars level to the pro level, right? And I think all of our events have been sold out, which is just crazy, right? And I think we have the second gate only to the UFC for MMA in California. That's pretty impressive.
Yeah, I mean, and you know, the way we kind of like every single event, right? It just gets
Well, you get certain people like I'm a hater, but this is going to be the biggest event. You know, our competitor. This, and just like it's the same old hype. It's the same old bullshit. But the difference is with us when we said it's not. Like you look at May 31st, the card that you guys have put together.
Yeah, no, it's us. But I want to ask you a question. So you talk about people maybe lying about them having the biggest cards and stuff. What pisses you off more? People lying about those kind of stats or people trying to copy us?
George and I have a good one about someone copying us recently.
I
Both
use,
are equally cringy to me, but I think.
Like the copying is a little more flattering. I mean, it's like a little.
But listen, I'm okay with people watching what we do, sort of copying if we're doing something right. I'd be a liar if I said I didn't watch others and see what they're doing right and see how we could implement them up next.
Yeah.
That's fine. But when you bring people into sort of that inner circle a little bit, you share things on this or that, and then they copy you and they scum you, that's the lowest scum out there, if you ask me.
well, Chris knows whenever I see anything, we text each other, I use very explicit words.
Well,
I'm like, beep.
Dude, you got some scumbags that are doing something, right? And George and Steve and come up with the concept of doing, you know, an event in a nightclub. And we trademarked, turn the nightclub into a fight club. Now you got some guys that are doing something, you know, at a nightclub and like taking a spin on our trademark, which is like so cheesy, and they've copied our poster too.
Yeah.
And I think it's just so pathetic.
No, I agree with that. It is very pathetic.
You don't have, well, that's what happens when you don't have originality, right?
Yeah.
You're like, okay, well, oh, they did it. Oh, we should copy that. Okay, go ahead, copy
Yeah.
it. Let's see how we're gonna. Oh, so okay, now that you said that, you know, when you said, George, you're just downplaying this, you know, like you're saying matchmaking is so easy and this and that. I kind of do that on purpose when I talk to people because I want them to think it's so easy for them to try it. Like, go ahead.
Wake up, like when people think we're making $1 million at shows, like wake up and you really see how tough this business is to do right. Guys can make money in this business pretty easily if you ask me. if they just quote unquote run shows, they don't build a brand, and they're not about the fighters. They don't do anything. We had
They won't stay here for a long time though, right?
no. Like George said, there's a graveyard, right? But we sat down recently with Cody Sessions and Jason Gordado, and they were just talking about Up Next and how they're doing it right, and all the value. And they were telling us some stories about some of these other promotions and shit. And it's just like, wow.
Well, there's matchmaking and then there's matchmaking, right? You got booking agents trying to be matchmakers where, like booking agents are good to, it's like, hey, you got a guy, I'm kind of desperate for an opponent. They book a fight, but there's guys that are legit matchmakers, right? One of my good friends that, I've looked up to and, he's done so great is, Rich Chow, who's the head matchmaker at Bellator. He's a great matchmaker because he wasn't one of those guys like, I'm just going to make the top 3 fights and then I'm going to pawn it off. Like he was literally involved in every single fight all the way down the list. Mel Valenzuela, he's a very good matchmaker. Like I think me and him started off around the same time. Yeah. He went through Roy Engelbrecht's Fight Promoters University thing where, like he loved it. He's got a good, I think he retired, but he had a good job and he had a passion for MMA and he literally took it seriously and now he's doing a lot of good things. But like you can't just become a matchmaker overnight.
No.
Mel and I have been doing this shit for 15 plus years. Then you got people just popping up and becoming I'm a matchmaker. Like, okay. But build a fight card.
Yeah, I always kind of crack up at that too, like just some of the matches that some of these dudes are making. That's one thing I really like about what you two do is you put together fair and entertaining matches that the people want to see.
Yeah,
how do you know you killed it on the? I mean, you always kill it. Like, how do you know you crafted a great card, matchmaking wise?
I mean, I usually am sitting by the cage, just kind of, me and Chris are in front of each other, just making sure everything is going smoothly. But when I'm not sitting there, I'm usually all the way in the back of the room, on the stage or like
sneaking shots with Alan from State Farm. Tell the truth.
But I'm like I've climbed up that scissor lift and I've just kind of like looked at how the crowd is reacting. If the crowd's reacting, the crowd isn't going to react to lame fights, right? And the way we craft the event and how we see how that goes up is you got to know what fights to put to lead to what. Like there's guys that are amazing fighters, but they just don't have the fan base, right? Yeah. So you got to kind of put those guys into a position where they light up the audience, right? They give that spark, leading up to some of the fighters that are more tactical fights where, to the average person is like, oh, this is kind of boring. But no, like it's really like a chess game going on between 2 very high level guys. But, when you have that spark in the first 2 or 3 fights, when these, young amateurs that we put on are, like fucking standing like a Downingbrook, they're just, like rock'em, sock'em, boom. The crowd is so into it. Even that tactical fight to them is like, now it's like, oh, wow, like they start to understand it. And once the room is lit, there's no igniting that fire all the way. It just runs all the way through the night.
So let's go back, right? What was a fight that you felt was going to be amazing that didn't deliver? Can you think of one? That you thought this great matchup, that's going to be a war, that you just kind of like, didn't deliver on what your expectations were? Oh, man. Maybe because of styles or whatever. Can you think of one? What about a fight that over-delivered? That you're just like, wow, I didn't know it was going to be that nuts. This fight was crazy.
There's actually one that was pretty recent for me that George made. Well, I knew it was going to be good, but it was fucking nuts. Tommy Aaron versus Batsum Daglador.
Yeah.
I was sitting in my matchmaker seat for one fight of the night. It was that one. I was just like, what the hell is going on?
No, 100%. Because, like, I was not surprised that Tommy
I didn't think that fight was going to be that good, though.
Yeah,
I really did.
See, I was not surprised that Tommy would be in that type of a fight. But, like I looked at the opponent, good record, right? Comes from, he's Mongolian. Those guys are warriors going back to Genghis Khan days. Mm-hmm. But, like I always ask the coaches, like, what's his background? It's like, oh, he's a very good wrestler, but he doesn't mind standing up. I'm like, good. All right. Well, like Tommy is a fucking maniac. Yeah. Every single time that guy's fought for me, like he over-delivered. It's like, I like to do that, right? Under promise, over deliver all the time. Tommy just like promises and quadruple over delivers. I don't know if I made sense with that comment, but
Makes sense.
yeah, like I was sitting there and I was so pissed off because the ticket booth kept on like hitting me on the head. I was like, hey, this guy is here. Can you come and get him? I'm like, their fucking tickets are at will call. I'm trying to watch this fight.
It's just one of the best fights happening. You don't want anyone to talk to. Yeah, no, it was fucking great.
But, like I was so upset that I missed like live. I missed half of that fight.
Such a good fight.
I went home that night, fucking went onto the stream. I'm like, all right, everybody's talking about this. I have to see this.
Yeah, but you've done that a lot. Like even Brandon Spencer versus the Bully was a great fight too. Like,
it was.
And how you saved that last minute was just.
I mean, it's easy when you have fighters that are always ready and they're willing to throw down. Like, you know how many minutes it took for Brandon Spencer to say yes?
30 seconds.
Like, maybe less. I was like, because we were talking back and forth. You know, he's like, hey, George, you know, like, I want to come back. You know, we gave Brandon his pro debut and, you know, he had a great outing. Then, you know, like he fought somewhere else.
Yeah.
You know, he got a couple of good wins. But I honestly, Brandon Spencer is one of those guys. I even told him to his face, I'm like, bro, I didn't think you were going to be this good. You just became so good.
Yeah.
In 1 year. He was a good local young guy that I was like, okay, you know, he'll sell some tickets. We'll try to give him the right fights to, you know, like he'll
him,
yeah, like, but you know, like he just, I saw him in front. I'm like, what the fuck did this guy just do? Like, really? He just stood there with the Bully and he was getting better of some exchanges because Bully's you know, like the word you love, Bully's a savage.
Yeah.
Right?
I'm a big fan of the Bully, bro.
Huge. Like,
yeah.
I love Anthony. He's like, the guy's gotten a fucking fight of the night, knockout of the night. You know,
yeah, he's a fucking entertainer. He's exciting.
But let's go there for a second. Let's talk about what you guys have like created, right? I think from the rising stars, you've got a lot of great rising stars now going pro. But George, you've got some pros that are knocking on the door to the UFC.
Yeah, I mean, you know, Gianni, and you know, like in no way, shape, or form is Anthony not a UFC guy within the next like 3 or 4 fights, right?
Yeah.
He just fought Johnny Robles, who had an amazing game plan, and he like if Johnny Robles doesn't fight 100% of what his coaches tell him, that fight is completely different. But and it's very rare that a fighter could stay so focused and do exactly what the coaches say from start to finish. Anthony fought a great fight.
Yeah.
It's just, you know, that day he just, you know, like he just kind of got outpointed by a guy that just had the perfect strategy. Because I think, again, I might be wrong, but Anthony has been just kind of blowing through the competition where, you know, Chad and, you know, Josh Barnett, they just drew up the perfect game plan.
Yeah. Do you agree with that, Ryan?
Yeah, no, I think listen, MMA is like it's just a crazy sport. You put in 3-month camps, 2-month camps, whatever it may be, and you got to be kind of perfect on fight night or execute that game plan on fight night. There's days you're feeling better or not, but that fight, both guys look focused. I think Johnny Robles did follow the game plan and he looked just like at his 110%. And that's what kind of it comes down to in some fights, right? So, but yeah, I do agree. I think Anthony Romero is 2, 3, 4 fights maximum from being on the radar.
No, Anthony is, again, if Anthony doesn't make it to the UFC, I will do the river dance in the middle of this.
What is
no,
the
Anthony's making it the river dance, bro. You don't know, like
aren't you part Irish?
No.
Okay, well, I mean, you're white, so.
George, that's a little racist.
You're profiling me. I'm Armenian, bro. Don't you know?
Sorry, bro.
Sorry, bro.
Is he honorary Armenian?
Of course, you both are.
Okay.
Yeah, I
No,
mean, you've probably hung out with more Armenians in the last like 3 years of doing UNF than I have. You know, like,
Listen,
oh yeah, for sure.
I love the Armenians.
well, I see you taking shots with all. You know, like, you and Edgar Dad. Edgar's dad are best friends now.
Yeah, I love that guy. You know?
Like I sent him a picture of you and him drinking. And he's thinking that you're sending it to him. He's talking to me. He's like, bro, this was a great show. You know, I can't do it. Like,
I thought you were him?
Yeah, because I sent the picture. He didn't have my number saved. So he's like, I'm like, Akar, it's me, Jay. He's like, oh, bro, I thought it was Chris.
No, I just thought it so funny because I remember when Edgar was on, Hector almost like got in a fight with Edgar's dad. Shit is so funny. Edgar's dad's amazing.
He's a great guy. I've known him for a very long time. And I mean, aside from Edgar being that kid that, you know, like just literally was at my show going back to CXF1 to trying to sneak into the back locker room to be with all the fighters, you know, like I'm like, Edgar, get out. The commission's going to end. Back in the days, like the commission is a little more chill right now because they don't have Larry Irvin in the back.
Yeah.
Larry comes out like, he's...
Every once in a while.
Well, you don't fuck with Larry. Like,
No, I know.
Larry would kick me out of the locker room if I didn't have my credential. I'm like, Larry, it's me. He's like, go get your credential. I'm like,
Okay.
all right, Mr. Irvin, no problem. But like Larry was back there and Larry's like, George, get these kids out of the locker room. I'm like, Larry, I'm trying. Like I could only do
It's
so
such
much.
a hard thing. You want to like regulate everything with an iron fist and run it, but it's just, this is a type of experience that it's fan based. Like you got to give the fans where you can their moment and their experience with these guys. But going back, so Gianni, the bully, Robles. Albert's going to get Albert should get the call back because again, I think the thing with Albert is he made it to the UFC very young. Yeah.
I think if Albert, Dana picked him. Like when fucking Dana says, "Hey, you're coming to the UFC. You're going to the UFC."
Yeah.
You can't say no. I'm not. Like give me another fight. Like he went. He saw that. He was very young, right?
Yeah.
I think if Albert goes to the UFC 2 years after when he did, Albert is a top 5. He would have fought for the title, but he now knows that this is his second shot, and Albert Morales will be in the UFC. Like if the UFC doesn't put him, give him a second chance, it would literally be very unfair thing.
Look, if he has a great performance, let's say he gets past Robles the 30.
Yeah, but like even if you think about it, he does need to get the call back, but he's beating all the top guys on the regional level. Like
it's crazy.
Like who else is there
left?
You got to fight guys from anywhere else, but like I mean,
but I also feel California has some of the top talent in the country. George, do you?
Yeah, no, I mean, I think again, it's been kind of shifting a little bit towards Vegas, but I think California still has the top talent when you look at it because a lot of guys from they have a lot more gyms. They have the PI over there. They have the UFC is based out of there, so a lot of people are kind of moving there. It doesn't hurt Vegas that their economy is so much easier to live at, right? Like
California's a mess.
California's a mess. Like you're gonna live in a little shack for
$1 million
for I mean, if you're renting a 1-bedroom apartment, like in a corner of a really bad neighborhood for $2,500. You're in Vegas, $2,500 get you a 4-bedroom house.
Yeah.
So that helps the fighters. We're like, shit, man. If I want to be a fighter, I'm just gonna go over there because it's much more easier to live there. But I think California is still the hub, in my opinion. We have the best fighters. We have the best talent. We have a lot of amazing, rising stars that are coming up. Like a lot of the rising stars that are now going to be turning pro, like Pargev, Desmond, Rosario.
So let's talk about the rising stars turning pro a little bit. I mean, because let's talk about who the rising stars that are turning pro you guys think can actually make it to the UFC that have that potential.
Ryan, go.
The 3 you said, honestly, I think Desmond has that potential. I think there's actually no doubt for Desmond, Pargev, and Rosario. They're all beasts. I mean, Rosario just went and competed at the Junior Olympics or whatever it was, fighting already against the top level guys. Yep. Desmond's fought some really top guys, hasn't lost yet in his rising star career going pro. And we all know about Pargev. I mean, we were watching Pargev every freaking UNF event, just how great he is. Other ones that went pro,
Hamza.
Hamza just, Hamza's a pro now.
One guy that I could pretty much say, don't laugh.
Let's say.
Christopher London in his first couple of fights. I was like, man, like, why is this guy even fucking fighting? Like, again, I'm just being honest, right?
Yeah.
But, because he fought DeSimone, who really quickly, got the better of him. I know he hurt his knee. Which again, like,
but he also didn't seem to be dialed in mentally.
No,
for that.
Well, he also did a podcast with Rain and talked about some struggles he was dealing with leading up to that event. Definitely wasn't there, but keep going, right? Because
so
there's been crazy improvement.
Crazy improvement, right? Like he did he beat Balkan, which again, it was okay, it was fun. He did the King Kong. The thing, whatever that is.
So did your mind change when he fought Carson Dohan?
My mind changed when Carson Dohan fight was extremely close. I think that fight could have gone either way. Again, the best man won that day, and then after that fight, when his striking with that quick knockout he had, I was like, wow, that was really impressive. And you expect guys to not evolve so quickly, but I think Marcos has done a good job with him. His striking is very, very legit for for the time of he's been doing it, and it's going to be interesting because I gave him a pretty tough task.
No, he's got a very tough task, and what I love, like, it's a very tough fight, right? But early in his career, he's going to be really tested.
Yeah, well, again, you either are meant for MMA and you're not, or you're not, right?
Yeah.
So for Christopher London, like when I gave him the fight, thought about it for a little bit, and I think they're in one of those places where it was like, well, let's see if you got it. Like you'll fight somebody tough, you'll be a little bigger than the other guy, but again, fighting David Rivera.
David Rivera is a savage.
He is.
Okay, I use that word all the time.
That's okay. You
fortunately, our roster
he's a savage. He's a fan of his. You
get 5 savages on a podcast.
Yeah, I get 5 savages per podcast moving forward.
No, but David Rivera's fight with Hamza, you really look at that. That was an amazing fight.
Well, he's another guy that's recently turned pro. That's going to, I think, has potential.
Oh yeah, no, David definitely has a potential.
He's what, 2-0 now?
2-0.
Yeah, but he fought on some of your shows even when he was in AMI.
Yeah, he did.
And I remember nobody wanted to fight him. I remember I went to one of the events. He head kick knocked out somebody. Like
David's really good. And again, like talking about gyms, right? Like from Classic Fighting, we got
Tyler Wombles.
We got 3 guys from that
I was
gym.
just down there not too long ago and got to watch him train. I mean, Tyler Wombles runs like they got a good atmosphere there, but it's no nonsense, strict business.
He seemed like sort of military, like boom.
Yeah, but yes, and the way they train and they all have that same like they know what they're going. Like the workout is fucking great.
Yep.
No joking around, intense, serious, but also with like this like family aspect at the same time. They all kind of mesh. You can see it's like a good vibe there, but it is that type of vibe. So you see why David Rivera is that kind of fighter and has those type of performances. Same with Jeff Craig and the other guys are gonna be on the card.
Yeah, like Joe Murphy. Joe Murphy again. Like another fight you want to talk about. Joe Murphy versus Ryan Lilly, right? 2 guys that are very.
But I heard you didn't even make that fight. I heard there was some behind the scenes going on with Ryan Lilly and Joe Murphy.
Yeah, they've been wanting to fight each other for a long time.
They made it themselves.
Yeah, well, Ryan's I
love when the fighters do that.
Listen, George didn't even do his job with this one.
The times he texts me like, "Hey, bro, I want to get on this card. I already talked to the opponent. He said he's good. Just hit him up." I'm like, "All right, if it's a good fight, I'm all good with it."
Yeah, and then we text the group, and the group thinks we're like we're just miracle workers. Oh my God, guys, what a like you got like Vicky,
I worked so hard on this one.
Yeah, like Chris is putting fires, Vicky's putting clappy hands and woohoos, and I'm like, thank you. Yes, oh my God,
you need to give Ryan Lilly a booking fee, I think, for that one.
Well, I mean, Ryan Lilly initially said like wanted to fight Joe Murphy. He's like, hey, what about that guy Joe? I'm like, Joe, and I was in the middle of something. Fuck, like I was like, Joe who? He's like, Joe. He's like, Joe. I'm like, dude, like he had a really like simple last name. It was a really common name. And then I'm like, Joe Murphy. He's like, yes. He's like, well, can I fight him? I'm like, let me try. Because I texted Tyler, and I think Tyler had, gotten into a car accident. They're just, like for 3 days, he didn't text me. I was Ryan, like, I'm not getting a text back. I could follow up. And then the fight with Cortez came about. I'm like, would you fight Cortez? I was like, what? Wait, I'm like 45. I was like, you think he's going to make 45? I'm like, yeah, I mean, I'll put it in the contract. So we made that fight. Literally, like 2 days later, Tyler called me and was like, yeah, what's up, bro? Yeah, we'll take that fight. I'm like, fuck.
Oh.
Yeah.
Well, how did you feel? So talking about that, like, I was very excited getting Tony Cortez on the card. It's the bum that, he got injured.
Yeah.
How do you feel about that?
Tony Cortez is a guy, I mean, like we were so close to signing him right before he turned pro. You know, they came out to the show, we talked, and, we did. Well, I told him what the breakdown was going to be and everything. Just, like some other people kind of influenced them different ways, which is fine. And it's the fight game. Yep. Everybody, kind of like gives and takes. And, the fighters, the fighter who's going to land in the right place, gets there at a certain point, it happens, God puts him in the right place. But, like I was excited for that fight. It's unfortunate where, like literally like 2 weeks after signing him and doing all that, he tears a muscle on his pec, which sucks. But he's been texting me. He's like, when is the next event after that? Can I come to the May 31st fight and we could do something in the cage? Let's do something. I can't wait to get back in. I'm like, first thing, get healed.
Yeah, we did the face-off between him and Ryan Lilly, and I thought it was freaking great.
Oh, that was great.
Just hearing Tony, because Ryan was like harping on his weight, not making weight. Yeah. And I just loved Tony's response, like, none of these motherfuckers had motivated me. You motivate me.
Yeah, but that just kind of, that just proves the caliber of fights.
But I believed it. No, honestly, coming from I believed what he said. Like, really didn't care. These guys didn't excite me. I'll show up and I'll just do what I do. You know?
Ryan's. I'm gonna take one of your 5. Okay.
Okay.
Ryan's a savage.
Oh.
Okay. So we only have 3 more.
Yeah.
But like Ryan was on ESPN, dude. He had knocked out Muka Barnes. He was on ESPN. Top 10 players, number 5. He's very good.
Yeah.
Ryan, again, I think it's both ways, right? Ryan gets motivated when he has to fight somebody tough. And, going into some other events when he's fighting a guy with a sub 500 record, he doesn't take it seriously and he gets beat. It's like, fuck.
Yeah.
Like, I should have taken this shit more seriously.
Yeah.
But I think that Tony Cortez fight, that has to happen at some point.
Ryan looks physically healthier.
Yeah,
he looks mentally more in tune. This was the best Ryan Lilly that I've seen. And we've been working with Ryan Lilly since UNF started.
So this fight with Joe Murphy, there's going to be, the game plans are going to be what's going to determine. It's like Joe's jiu-jitsu is amazing. It's jiu-jitsu, right? And Ryan's, no slouch on the ground, but, Ryan's going to come out there and, be the crazy Ryan and, throw all kinds of kicks and punches and everything. Like, it's a 50-50 fight.
Yeah.
Like, I want to sit down for that one. I'm going to turn my headphones off, put my
So I won't be able to reach you on the headsets?
No,
Okay.
you could whistle, yell,
George!
send one of your assistants, whatever. But I'm very excited for that fight.
So, Ryan, what fight May 31st are you most excited for?
Well, I wanted to pick George's brain on this one, although I probably already know. But George, the main event, Albert Morales versus Johnny Robles. We haven't got into it yet. There's a storyline behind it, though, right? Albert Morales, defended his title at the last event. Anthony Romero, who was the current champ, ended up losing to Johnny Robles. Albert Morales and Anthony Romero, big brother, little brother. Was there any, it's kind of like Albert trying to get revenge for his little brother, right? Was there any of that from Albert's team? Is that why they wanted to take the fight? How did the fight kind of come about?
But remember, Albert just stopped Chase, also, who is Johnny's teammate.
Right.
Are you trying to stir shit up between CMMA and Black House, bro?
No. I love.
We're no better. We have both coaches on the Fight Cafe podcast.
Listen, I love Juan. His passion for the game is just on a different level.
Did you see him in the cage going to chat CMMA like?
Yeah,
he's like, I'm like, whoa, again, relax.
I kind of like it. I mean, I think it happened, but it's entertainment, man.
No, bro, that just could get ugly.
No, it could.
I think was it Josh Barnett that was just someone. It was Josh.
Josh is so mild mannered.
No, he is so nice,
then,
but don't push him.
Oh,
yeah, don't push Josh Barnett.
Dude, I wouldn't push that guy with, that weird thing that people are doing now, 100 man versus
a gorilla.
like one gorilla.
Yeah.
I wouldn't put 100 gorillas versus Josh Barnett. Fuck that. That guy's crazy.
No, Josh is
I love Josh.
legend.
He's a good friend of mine. We have lunch all the time, but you could see don't fuck with him.
No.
Yeah.
But wait, are you guys actually taking one gorilla or 100 men in a fight?
Did you see that meme the Armenians posted?
No, but I'm taking one gorilla.
Okay.
Because this is a topic that's being discussed around the world right now. I want to get your guys' opinion.
It depends on, what 100 men there are. Like, again, the meme with the Armenians is, like they said, 100 Armenians versus a gorilla. There's no gorilla. He was a shish. He was on skiers on barbecues. So, so that's the answer to that. Yeah, I think. Actually, they're posting so much of that shit, and I think with the iPhones, people talk about it, and then all of a sudden their feeds are.
Sure, yeah.
Chad George did a fucking breakdown of how big a gorilla is and how big a man is, how much more power, and damn.
That's a Chad George thing to do.
I was like,
listen, that is Chad George right there.
I was like, that is a hell of a breakdown. I would have thought a gorilla would just go ape shit on the 100 men, but now that you broke it down, I think 17 and a half men could beat a gorilla because of the analytics you put together. I was like, geez, that was a lot of science behind it. It's a punch force of a gorilla is equal to 7 mans and a half. I'm like, shit, Chad, how much
did he
how
really
much,
go?
Oh yeah,
he must have been drinking whiskey, bro.
No, he probably just typed into Chat GPT.
Yeah, that's true with Chat GPT.
Yeah, well, it was Chad GPT.
Okay, let's get back to the main event of UNF 25 though. Matchmaking, how'd that come all about?
That came along with the fight ending, and I think Monday morning at 7:20 a.m.
So precise with your timing.
Samurai is like, I want that fucking fight. George, you got to make that fucking happen. We're going to get that fucking belt, the second belt. I'm like, good morning. But like Samurai is nuts.
Yeah, he
right?
is.
He's so passionate with
Very
his
passionate.
guys.
I love the passion, though. But
Me
yeah,
and him butt heads so many times. I think there's times where I think he low-key wants to kill me.
No,
and there's
it's-
times where low-key I want to kill him. But I think that's just because we're so we both love the sport so much. It's like he wants to do so much for his guys, and sometimes sometimes there are certain things that are out of our control, right?
Yeah.
A lot, because we're a promotion company. There's the athletic commission who we have to abide by all their rules.
Yep.
A lot of the fighters don't understand that. We
Yeah,
can't.
they think we
make
supply
rules.
the judges and the refs and
and that is completely untrue, because we don't. We hire, right? We hired the athletic commission to come and regulate our events, just like the UFC does on all the
we
other.
don't pick which judges, we don't pick which refs.
Nope.
They send whoever they send.
So it's like, oh well, can that judge not fight our fight because he or she is against us? I'm like, I'll tell the elite inspector, but I don't know how then they have to start swinging things around. But long story short, that fight came about because I think that was going to happen. And again, I don't think the bully needs anybody to big brother him or to pick his fights, because I think Robles and Bully fight 5 times. That it's a toss up.
no, and I
every
totally
single
agree
time.
with that. And I didn't mean that when I said that, but they're a family over there,
of
right?
Course, but that's the storyline kind of plays out like that.
Yeah.
I know exactly what you mean, but again, I think it was just inevitable for that to happen.
But why should these two really fight each other? It's a dangerous fight for both of these guys if you think about it.
Because they both want to fight the top guy. Yeah. And I think, well, think about it, right? Johnny Robles is taking a huge risk.
Yeah.
Because, to me, when you look at it on paper, right, he becomes the underdog. Like if I'm, if anybody's putting odds on the fight, you have to, you have to, look at all and everything. You got to go with Albert when you look at it, because
yes and no.
Again, I'm just going off of if you look at, stats and, what each guy has done. Yes, Johnny Robles just beat a very good Anthony Romero, but Albert's been in the UFC. He's fought, in my opinion, tougher opponents in his last bunch of fights. But again, I kind of didn't think that Johnny could pull off the fight with Romero, because Romero was on such a tear. But again, you see, it's not just about the athlete. It's about the coaching and the game plan and everything. So when you look at it, and I wasn't trying to, I'm not trying to talk down on Robles' skills or what he's doing, but I was trying to get more of the risks he's taken because of, he's fighting a little bigger guy, because I think, Johnny Robles, he is the 135 champion. Albert is the 145 champion. Just like Albert is dropping down to 135, I think, when you look at them, when you look at their, the way they're built, right? Their frame, I think Johnny Robles can possibly make 125 in a way, because he is a little smaller of a guy.
I don't think Ryan agrees. Ryan's shaking his head no.
I don't think Johnny Robles will ever get to 125.
Yeah, I remember for 135, he almost missed weight once.
Had to cut his hair.
Cut his hair.
Yeah, but again, it's different when you're making $40,000-$50,000 and
Totally.
hiring a
Nutritionist.
nutritionist, and because again,
You have a point.
So I'm looking at it that way, is Johnny Robles is now on a tear. He's got stoppages,
And he's been on a tear
wins.
for a while. I mean, beating Romero the way he did is definitely the fucking best of it. But I think his last 5 fights, he's really been on a sick tear.
Yep, he is. And
But
again,
on paper, do you agree with George that he's the underdog, or do you?
No, I think, well, yes, I get George's points. I don't think it's this big margin of thumping. I think you do lean towards Albert. He's been in the UFC. He's fought some really world-class guys. I think you look at Robles' resume and it's good. Definitely not on the level of Albert's, but when you look at the most recent stuff, Albert got the victory in his last one, but that first round he kind of got controlled in the wrestling. Johnny has good wrestling, and then Johnny just beat someone like Anthony Romero, who should have already been in the UFC, right? And did it in really good fashion.
Yeah.
So they're both on winning streaks. They're both fighting tough guys. It's one of those fights to me. It's who's going to show up with the game plan on that
exactly
night?
what you said, in the sense of who shows up and executes the strategy.
When you're the top of the top and guys with the skill level, it really comes down to who follows the game plan, who's really locked in, maybe who's even healthier, right? Because fighters do come into these fights with nicks and nags and injuries, and that's just all part of the game.
You see how serious these guys take it, right? Yeah, they're doing it regionally, but the Bully and Albert are in Hawaii doing training camp.
I love watching the video. So they look locked in.
They are locked in, and again, the reason why I brought up Johnny and taking a risk
Yeah.
because like it is a big risk because he is like he could say, can I George, I just beat Anthony Romero.
Yeah.
Can I have just like a little easier of a fight? Because he's headed to the UFC too.
So that's what I'm saying, though. I think it's a huge risk, and I totally agree with you. But I think the way that Chad, Josh, and Johnny are looking at it, if they beat a name like Albert,
It gets
Johnny
him there
Robles
faster.
is undeniable at that point.
Right.
How do you deny him
Albert's
a chance?
rightfully
if he
so.
beats Albert?
He's so deserving of it, but he's the number 1 featherweight in California right now, and I think top 5 in the country or whatever.
Yep.
If you go out there at Johnny Robles' age with his resume and he gets a dub against Albert, there's no way he shouldn't get back. And I really feel the same way about fucking Albert. If you're beating all the top guys in the state and in the
Give him
country,
another shot.
and you get past a surging
Yeah.
prospect like Robles, so that's why I think it's like
So exciting.
They're laying it on the line, but the stakes are actually high, and I think this actually gets them to both where they want to go to faster.
Look, the stakes are so high for this event. Jeff Craig, Chris Alvidrez.
Yeah.
Think about that fight.
It was cool because I went to the classic fight team, and Jeff Craig is so excited for the matchup.
Really?
Yeah, like he really loves the Alvidrez fight. He's been wanting to fight for a while. He said George reached out with the name, and he was ecstatic about it.
Yeah, well,
so he's really excited for the fight. Oh, you have something? What's
I
fun?
mean, Chris Alvidrez, when I was talking to, it's good, and then good shout out to Antonio who helped put this fight together. Jimenez, he's he's been helping.
Shout out
Yeah, shout
Antonio.
out Antonio. He talked to them, and we again, I didn't want to do anything shady or anything, so I said, hey, you know what, like if the guy has a contract with another promotion, I don't want to talk to them unless you guys, get a release, send me the paperwork, then I could start negotiating because I wouldn't like it if somebody comes and starts poaching my guys.
Yep.
So I don't want to be the poacher. It's a really dirty thing to do in the industry, and a lot of people do it. So when the paperwork came in and he was a free agent, I was like, okay, now this fight is available, and like Jeff Craig is definitely down. We've had him on the card. Unfortunately, his opponent got hurt. And, they're like, well, get us somebody that's actually going to show up. I'm like, Tyler, don't worry. I think this guy's going to show up.
Yeah.
And
Tyler
then-
took a couple digs at us on that one. I don't blame because I think there were 2 fallouts or something, right? For
Yeah.
Jeff?
Well, I just think there was one. I think, remember Dion had that heart problem where he had to pull
No, it's a
out.
legitimate pullout,
Yeah.
but it just sucks when it happens.
It does. It does. And, especially when you're trying to build a relationship with the gym
Yeah.
and, they're really trying to push Craig but again, things happen beyond our control. We just try to, as a promotion, we try to basically have it not happen again, and just build off of that and do things a little bit better the next time to make sure we minimize those types of issues. But when you look at it, right, that's a great fight on paper, and I think Alvidrez had promised another promotion prior that he would take a fight with them in Florida because he's doing his camp in Florida back and forth. So when his manager said, hey, just a heads up, he's got a fight coming up here. The opponent is very favorable. We were kind of talking to them before we were talking to, because we didn't know what was going to happen with our multi-fight with the other promotion. And I was like, I just want to make sure that it's safe, and it's at least a month out, which was exactly a month and a day out from our event. And, I was biting my fingernails. I'm like, man, please let him go. Because I had no doubt that he was going to win the fight. I just, sometimes you're like, you never know what to happen. You could just walk into the cage, roll your ankle, and you're like, fuck, that was fucked up. But right after the fight ended, Laura calls me. She's like, we won. He smoked the guy, just like we said. We can't wait for that UNF title.
Nice.
I'm like, that's awesome. Literally 2 minutes later or 3 minutes later, Jeff's manager called me. He's like, I was at the fight. Is everything still good? I'm like, well, what did you think of his performance? He's like, yeah, he smoked the guy. I'm like, yes, the fight's good. So it was like literally two calls from both camps, making sure that fight
That's
is
a good
still,
feeling though. When someone has a fight, both managers call you right after. Everything's still squared and good to go.
But the stakes are high for that one too, right?
Of course. I mean,
It's the same kind of conversation. I mean, different histories of all guys, but same conversation as the Robles and Morales. They're both guys that should be getting to the UFC with a win in this fight or one after.
yeah, I think Alvidrez, with his record, as maybe a bit closer, because again, I think both guys could beat some of the guys that go on to that contender show, but again, other, you know, states and cities, they, you know, the competition is not as high. So, you know, people are able to build easier records. With California, like, there literally are not easy fights. Like,
Yeah.
going back to really quick to Robles and Morales, like, well, who does Johnny Robles really fight after that? Or who does Albert fight at 45 after? He's pretty much cleaned house, right?
Yeah.
So same thing comes here. Like, Alvidrez is 6-1, you know, with the win over, again, a very, very tough Jeff Craig. He could get the call literally on Sunday after our show. Craig beat somebody like Jeff beat somebody like Alvidrez. He could get the call because he just beat a very, very, you know, the big prospect.
Yeah, I think Alvidrez is a big prospect. He's got a big names, got a big following behind him.
Yeah, he's got that karate combat. You know, people backing him from there. But yeah, you're coming in to fight Jeff Craig from Classic Fight Team with, you know, Sergeant Tyler. So, you know,
no, it's no easy task, but that's kind of what I love, though. I mean, the stakes are just so high.
Yeah.
You know, and that's what kind of, I think, makes it really interesting. You know?
Yeah. Every single fight on the card is, you know, top to bottom, from amateur, rising star to the main event of the pros.
This clown's put how many Rising Stars titles do we now have on this freaking card?
Is it
Bro.
6 or 7?
Oh, so Jada just got the so 6.
Is that 6 then? No, I think
we
7.
have 7 total.
Okay, should I just name them all just to see?
Yes,
if
please.
Let's see if you can name them
Yeah,
all.
because I'm getting confused
Okay,
now.
Byron versus Arshag.
Yeah, that's 1.
Fed versus Isaac.
2.
Bryce versus Stone.
3.
Granado versus Griffin.
4.
Gregor versus Balkian. Jada versus
Gregor versus
Gregor versus
Oh,
Wilder.
Gregor versus Wyman. Sorry, it's a lot of names going on over here.
Gregor's fighting himself.
Okay, what do we have? 5?
That's 5.
Jada,
6.
and then Ray Sean versus Kester Abad.
that's 7
7?
title fights in the amateurs only. Geez, so we have 9 title fights total.
Whoa, has that ever been done?
No. Like, I mean,
Yeah,
not,
when we're
We
talking,
should have one more to make it 10.
yeah, we should.
Double-digit title fights.
dude, think about that.
I don't think I have any more weight classes to work with.
Well,
but
I mean, it has to be pro.
No, listen, we're done. Nine title fights on one night. It's crazy. Like, I want to call this thing because I want to do some special promo. It's on Ryan. I'm like, I want to call it Night of Champions, but then another promotion just called one of their events that. So we can't do that. I don't want to make it look like we're
What about
copying.
Night of Real Champions?
Yeah. Night of the real ones. Not the pretenders.
I mean, hey, that's good for our boy Fazal Butt, right?
yeah. Yeah. We did put an order in for belts.
yeah,
That's a lot of
and
belts.
I'm gonna have to put another one.
Another
in too.
one after this. But that's crazy.
That's a lot of
9
title
belts
fights.
on the line.
Yeah,
That's a little expensive.
Bro, that it is. That's like half the card is title fights almost. What, we have 20 fights?
Yeah, like
21
40% of the fights.
Wow.
yeah, but
21, and you know what's crazy, dude? We're just, and it's credit to Up Next, but we have so many fighters that really want to get on Up Next cards. Like, I can make freaking 10 more Rising Stars bouts for this card.
yeah, I could make another card.
Listen, I think that's why, like, we go May 31st. I think we could go dark, June, but then we got to get right back July, and then I think August. Big show July.
Big show in
Smaller
July.
show August.
I mean, I don't know. We'll see how small August is going to be compared to all the names me and Ryan are putting together with, with.
That's if we do up north a little bit.
Yeah. But like, look at July, right? Can't say names. We already have.
Dude, there's one fight that you're making. Can we talk about it or we can't?
Let's not. Let's let's get bad arguments. You know my personality when it comes.
Yeah,
to
no.
Yeah, don't say it because someone, I don't know. We'll hopefully have it done before this even airs and whatnot. But
Yeah, there's 4 fights that are already talked about. There's a guy who's returning to.
One
He
of my
hasn't
favorite
fought
guys,
for-
by the way.
Yeah. Well, there's.
oh, I know who it is.
Yeah.
Oh, I can't wait till we announce that.
Yes, he is back.
He's back.
He's back. I want to say the name, but I'm not going to say the name.
Don't say the name. Don't say the name.
No, but
Just keep it
again,
a
like
secret.
another guy that is coming back to fight. Well, I mean, I don't. Sometimes I'm like for UNF, but then I'm like, well, UNF's been around for 3 years, but like when I'm trying to talk about guys in the past that I've promoted, I want to call him UNF, but I'm like, why shouldn't I? Because like I am UNF now, and I think UNF goes back, but he's fought for CXF, right? I think CXF. Me and Steve we built CXF, and now both myself and Steve are part of the UNF family. I think, going back, all of those fights that we've promoted now come with us to UNF. So those fights that happen in CXF all the way to like 18 or 19 or whatever, they're a part of UNF's history.
Yeah.
And Arut Pogosyan, right? I built that guy. He's from Colorado, great Armenian guy.
He's a cool guy too.
Very nice guy, very intelligent. He's actually like very smart.
I met him. You were doing a show at the Florentine Gardens.
Yeah.
I was in the locker rooms. And
He came
was
with
up there.
Alistair Overeem for that fight.
Yep, totally.
And
met him there. Super nice guy.
oh, you know what? He fought Mariachi. He fought Javier.
Is that who we fought?
He fought Mariachi.
I saw him fight Dominic Clark, I think.
No, that was a DQ. I think
I was there for
Dominic
that.
got elbowed on the back of the head, I think. But he's fought for me 4 times. He beat Mariachi, but decision. Well, I think Mariachi was fighting at 55 back then, which, that was where he wasn't supposed to fight at. He fought Mariachi. He beat Devin Brock by decision. Who do you win the belt from? I think Josh motherfucking Jones. He beat him for the title. Then he fought Dominic, and he got DQ'd. And then I think he was getting the much better of Darren Smith, and Darren Smith caught him in a guillotine. I was like, wait, what happened?
Darren Smith.
Darren Smith,
Wow.
he's the wild card. Like that guy comes out and he's gotten a decision over Taco. He's gotten a decision over, multiple people that you're like you don't see him, beating those guys, but Darren is just like, he's a road warrior.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, Arut's going to be on that card. He's got a young prospect like his little brother, and this kid also from Colorado. He went to the world championships. He's very good. He's got I'm already putting him in touch with Ryan. They're gonna do some good stuff. I think that kid is gonna be a very, very big part. His name is Spartak.
Nice.
Yeah. So again, everybody that's not on the upcoming May 31st card might land on July, August. I mean, we got so many things lined up that just that board is filling up very quick.
Yeah.
Can't wait.
What do you got planned for July? Are you working on July now? I mean,
Yeah.
now the May card is made, and guys, we're actually 4 weeks out from today for the May 31st card.
Yeah.
So that card's made. You got people waiting in the wings in case you got any dropouts. But what are you thinking for July? You got any surprises for us? Or are you going to do like 10 Rising Stars championship belts?
I'm not going to do 10 again. No, but there'll be some great fights on there. There'll be another stack card like we usually do.
Well, our boy Pargiv is back as a pro in July.
Nice.
So that's,
I'm really looking forward to building him.
Yeah.
I think he's something special. I really think he's got future. When we sat down with Cody Sessions was
It's
just
my dream matchup, George, is Pargiv gets to 5-0 as a flyweight pro. Desmond gets to 5-0 as a flyweight pro, and they fight for the UNF pro title.
Yeah, well,
They don't fight each other
I was going to ask
under
you.
our banner.
I mean, I would love that, right? I mean,
I think it's like a Robles and Morales kind of situation when they
just
both get
don't
to
see
the
it
top of the
no.
the
I
top.
honestly, I think,
I want it, but I don't.
That's my dream fight. I want to ask George, what's his UNF
like,
dream fight?
of course, like they're the top two. I mean, neither one of them has turned pro yet and haven't fought, but like if you want to count the best amateur flyweights, they are it,
Yeah.
right? I mean, Pargiv has beaten everybody. Like nobody would fight Pargiv, so he's like, okay, well, I guess I'll turn pro. Desmond, same thing. Goes to the worlds, beats a bunch of people, comes back. I mean, Desmond's one of those kids that I love Desmond. Like,
Yeah.
he's not your social media. He's not going to get out there.
He's a silent assassin.
He
bro.
is, and the fight dads, right? His dad is so
Yep.
into his career, and he's not one of those dads that kind of butts into the kid's career. He motivates him, he pushes him, he trains with him. He he knows that like there are certain things as a dad I do, but I gotta kind of like take a step back and let the coaches
He's
handle
not.
the rest.
I call him stage moms in a way, right? He's not one of those stage moms. He is truly looking out for the best interest of his son and wants the very best for him.
Yeah. I mean, as going back to Ryan, would I want to see that fight? Absolutely.
Yeah.
To happen on a UNF card, 100%. I will pay to see that fight. But, I think it's getting a little bit harder to do those amazing fights regionally because everybody wants to go to the UFC on blemished record, there's so many guys from, like Europe and Asia and, that Caucasus region where, like they're coming up as, like 70-0 amateurs and everything where, how do you deny those guys from going into the UFC when they're, when they have like 17-0 pro record where, locally these guys are getting to 5-0 or 6-0 and, they can't get those matchups. Now they're like, well, I don't want to lose because if one loss now pushes me way.
Step back,
Yeah.
That's what bothers me about this sport and this industry. You know what I mean? So much like one loss does really, set you back.
Oh yeah.
It's just-
Because again,
the consequences are very great.
MMA has evolved so much where in the past I remember guys with, like 8-6 records were going into the UFC. Now it's like, well, if you don't have 7 fight winning streak with, some crazy finishes, or you got to have like 10 finishes in a row, because I mean, you can't blame the UFC. There's only so many roster spots, right? Who do you take and who do you not take?
Yeah, but I think the records should only play such a role, in my opinion.
Yeah,
I just don't
they
feel
should.
like
They should, but like you got to look, like who did the guy beat? Does he move does he move the pay-per-views? Does he have a following? Like what we're doing. Imagine, like regionally, the UFC has to think about that because now they have ESPN and Amazon or Netflix, right?
I think they're going to Netflix.
Yeah.
What do you guys want to call it now?
I've been seeing a lot of things of it not working out with Netflix recently online, but I'm not even sure where they're going to go.
I mean, there's two places to go, right? If your contract ends with ESPN, that's done. You go to Amazon or Netflix. There's
Just
who
think
can
about
afford
they're
that?
trying to get $1 billion for 1 year for their
Yeah,
content.
but they're gonna make that. Yeah,
I know, but I'm just saying that is just like amazing.
Shit.
Can you give us a chunk of that? Can we be like the junior?
Yeah, of course. I am Mr. Netflix.
Come
and
on,
here's
George.
$1 million.
You got to know
There you
somebody, George.
No, I think they'll go to Netflix, but when you look at it, right now they have the people that have to tune in, and to buy those. So a fighter could be 10-0 with a shit background and comes up, and they go on to the Dana White Contender Series, and they look terrible. They just get blown out. Now that doesn't look good on the UFC either. It's like they're putting out crap.
Yeah.
So Sean and Mick, they have to also look at that. It's like, well, this guy's 8-4, but look at the 8 guys he's beat. Former UFC guys.
Yeah.
Like collegiate wrestlers. Great Muay Thai fighters. This guy's 10-0. He's beaten a bunch of guys at a reservation. Like you don't take that guy because he's gonna make your product look like shit.
Well, that's why I'm kind of proud about what we're doing. We're building these guys, for that road to the big show. And I think not only just like in the cage, but I also think from a branding perspective, because I think part of like successful matchmaking is making matches of talented guys, but guys that also move the needle with the fan base, right?
Oh yeah.
So,
well, talking about Parget, right? These guys need the backing to train and be, to put it their all.
yeah.
And a lot of young fighters these days don't have that.
Yeah.
Like they just, like they have to go, they're either going to college to, like pursue a career. They're working, they're, bussing tables, they're, like driving Uber Eats or whatever. They're trying to do anything, and they're training as much as they can. One thing with Pargev is a group of guys got behind him, and they basically said, we see a future in you. We're 10 businessmen. It's not going to kill us to put a budget behind you every month, and we just want you to train. Just train.
Yeah.
And these guys are amazing. Like I know most of them. They're very big in the Armenian community about supporting all causes. They're and I've done business. The way they support him, it's like he is their young brother.
Yeah,
Like,
that's really cool.
Yeah, like Pargev fights. These guys take a stack of 200 tickets, and they literally tell us, Vicky will tell you, we'll cut you a check. Don't worry if we sell it or not. We're going to give them out to, our people. We're going to give them out to our customers, our clients, our family. You just don't worry about those tickets because we want, for what you guys are doing for Pargev, what you guys are doing for all these fighters, we understand that they have to move tickets for you guys not to go into the hole so much. So we understand the business, and we are going to do our part to support them. So Pargiv's got it a little bit easier because he's got that backing, and he's got that support, which is amazing to see. And 99% of fighters don't get that.
No.
And I've seen so many talented kids that could get there, but they're like, well, shit, I can't train that hard.
Yeah.
I can't put in the time, but because we got rent, I got to help my parents with this. I got to, like some, and some guys just kind of like swerve, or like, oh shit, I'm 18. Oh, I could go on a date. Oh, there's girls. There's cool cars. Okay, I'm going to go work. I'll train a little bit, then I'll come back to MMA. You don't come back to MMA. You either are training and you're going to make this into a career, or, you just don't.
Yeah. So, George, what's your favorite fight that you've put together over the years? I think I know which one it is.
Well, I know which one you're going to talk about. And it's funny that these guys, I was on Instagram, and, the gym that, we have with Richard Leroy, I have access to the Instagram, and I saw a conversation between him and Jalen Turner going, hey, bro, you should come and do a seminar. My favorite fight of all time has to be Richard Leroy versus Jalen Turner. I fuck with Rich so much. I'm like, dude, you almost died like 6 times in that fight and you came back. It's like, come on, man, it wasn't that bad. I'm like, it was that bad. So, that's my favorite fight. Tommy Aaron versus Bastrmajyan, up there. There have been so many fights, but I like everybody, not just me, like everybody that talks about fights was like, dude, remember that Richard Leroy versus Jalen Turner? And when people talk about it, that was that good.
Yeah. I was there.
I still never seen that fight. I've seen highlights on social media, but I've never seen the fight.
Richard Leroy was done a few times. That guy just didn't give up. Like but he's been not that bad, but a couple other fights that I watched him into. Behind him just comes back and just kills the dude.
I mean,
the dude with the white hair.
Yeah.
And he fought in that fight.
That was just thinking, like, he lost 2 full rounds. He was just getting out. Like, the guy's karate was off the hook, right?
Yeah.
The guy's like side kick, head kick. Like, you see Richard, like, like a lump here, there, nose is broken. No, like jaw is falling out. The guy's picking him apart. But Richard is like Frankenstein. He's just kind of walking forward. Like 10 seconds left in the fight. Richard hits him with a left hook, drops him, knocks him out with like 4 seconds left.
Wow. I was there. It's crazy.
Well, listen,
Sportsman's Lodge.
Yeah, Sportsman's
in a ring.
Yep.
Defeating for a fighter when you're hitting someone with all your shots for 2 rounds. They look beat up and stuff, but they're not getting out of your face. They're not letting off the gas.
Man, he does that every single time. Like, like a bunch of the event sponsors liked him so much that so they started sponsoring him. It was like, yeah, that guy that almost dies all the time, can I give him like $1,000 to put my logo on his shirts? I'm like, sure. After that Jalen Turner fight, I played, I play soccer with my friends. We're in a league. So Richard's like, hey, bro, the sponsor said that, they gave you the money to give to me. Can I come by? I'm like, yeah, sure, come. Like, it's a Monday, and he had just fought on Saturday. He walks onto the field, and literally, like, it's like, like 40, 50 different games going on. Richard is walking from his car all the way to meet me so I could pay him. And literally, there's, the crowd is parting ways just looking at him because he's still got, like, something in his nose and stuff. Like, he's got like a cut on his eye, cut on this. Like, he just looks like he just got ran over by a bus. I'm like, Rich, really shouldn't be here. You don't look too well. I was like,
bad.
oh, it's fine. Like, it was like carrying his leg, his fingers, like hanging from the side. But again, that is the best fight we've ever promoted, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think that's one of the top ones. Well, anything else that we should be kind of going over?
No, I think...
Anything we missed, GOAT?
No, I mean, yeah.
You are the GOAT. No, listen, bro. You really are the GOAT of matchmaking. I'd put you up against anybody. Once we become that bigger show, it's going to be even better when you can pull from the national pool, then the international pool.
Yeah, no, we're doing very good. Again, regionally, we're trying to pull the best as we can. And, our main focus and our goal is to make sure that our fans keep coming back. Yep. And I think we've been doing a great job of that, not just from the matchmaking and the fight point of it, but, we really do provide a really fun night of event for everybody to come out and enjoy. And, now that, we're adding on those little perks and, like the VIP rooms, You know,
Yeah.
like people will see. Not
This is a
saying
great
anything,
idea,
but
by the way, that VIP room.
George has some ideas, bro.
I got some ideas. Yeah, I mean, you know, again, the Mr. Idea is Mr. Bash, but you know, I've picked a couple of good things from him, and you know, dealing with him for the past 20 years. But
That's for sure.
yeah, so again, we're doing great. We're gonna keep doing great. We're gonna just getting better and better and better. I think our team is getting stronger. You know, like in the beginning when new person comes in, we're like, all right, let's like. But I think we have like a really solid core
Yeah.
that everybody, you know, like literally like respects each other and loves each other like a family member.
Yeah.
You know, like everybody feels comfortable with one another. Like we're nobody's afraid to fuck up or make a mistake because you know they think, oh, you know, like
Shit, I don't want to make a mistake.
This guy makes mistakes every day, George.
That is true. I'm not
but,
perfect.
you know,
but I don't want to make mistakes. I'm trying not
but
to.
I don't think you've made mistakes. I think you've learned on the job.
Thanks, George.
You know,
Oh,
no, well, he's 27. Listen, old man, he's 27.
Not like 30 years.
What, you know, like, can you do what he was doing at 27?
No.
he probably could.
So, but
He's
again,
trying to make me feel good now. He probably could.
It all comes from the support. You have, again, a lot of, everybody should, you know, like pray to have somebody like Chris because he's really
I'm
doing a
grateful and
lot.
blessed every day. Don't. You're
Yeah,
being
no,
thankful,
I've
bro.
seen him. I've
Oh,
seen him in the corner, just kind of doing his thing. You know, thank you, Chris, my dad. I love you so much.
Oh, this guy knows I'm thankful.
Again, we don't make mistakes, right? If we make a mistake once, that means we're learning. If we make it the second time, that means we're dumbasses, and we really should step up our game because you can't keep on making mistakes and become great at something. You know, like if you keep
Facts.
making the mistakes, like dude, like what the fuck?
Yeah.
You know, so we learn, and it's growing pains and learning from experience. There's a lot of things that I've been doing this for 17, 18 years. I can't remember, but I still make mistakes because I'm like, hey, you know, like I never had to do this with the team. I had to do it by myself. And to me, what was right because nobody told me you could do it the smarter or an easier way. But, you know, like when, you know, I do something like, George, you know, you could have done this to make your job easier. You could have asked Sherelle to do that instead of, you know, like stop this and go do that. I'm like, yeah, he's
Makes
right.
sense.
Yeah, makes sense. But
Yeah,
again,
but I mean,
I'm learning.
Well, yeah, but you worked so long, I think, as just an individual, right? And I think that's the difference with Up Next. It's truly an organization. It's not
It
a
is.
bunch of individuals just kind of playing a part. It's truly an organization and a team.
Yeah, I mean, again, things being easier. I have to make fights, you know, like last second. Fighter asks, "Hey, I'm coming to do a certain thing. You know, can you hook me up with the hotel room?" I'm doing like 50 other things, and literally, it was a 2-second call to Christina,
The bomb. Yeah.
the bomb director of happiness.
Are we calling her the bomb now? What's going on?
No, I just was basically saying she's the bomb because I love that.
Yeah, like it took her 5 minutes. Like, all right, George, hotel room is booked. I was like, oh man, I have
It's
to be
great
on
having
the
a team that you could,
Yeah.
you know, we have each other's backs. If
Ryan
once-
has his assistant, Sherelle, his assistant.
assistant.
Well, we clarified this before, but yeah, we could keep calling her my assistant.
Assistant Sherelle. Well, you know, you got a little Bitcoin over there who's, you know, like she's 19,
20 now.
20.
Yeah.
But yeah, like I see her because I'm in every single group text with her.
Yeah.
With
No, she's
for, like,
on it.
Dude, you know when she
ticketing,
like follows
medicals.
up, you have like 50 unread fucking
Yeah.
messages in a row. You're like, oh my god.
And I got, you know, like everything is on email too. So I have to like look through those emails. I'm like, all right, okay, it's Sherelle, Seanwell, Ernie, Sherelle. I'm like, oh, so I'm gonna like, I have a special folder that on Saturdays I'm like, okay, let me go.
My Sherelle folder.
Yeah, Sherelle folder. Let me see what she, you know, like, and she's like, I need this, I need that. You know what? Like, you know, like I said, you know, sometimes I said, you know, like ophthalmology, not, you know, like, I'm like, wow, okay, she's
getting
yeah.
well. She started catching shit from everybody, so she's like buckling down.
Yep.
Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
And that's
but-
what I love about her.
No,
she's awesome.
She's a kid, right? Still, when you look at it, but she's becoming a very, you know, like very tenacious. And I was like, I need this.
Yeah.
Guys, I need that.
Miriam's doing the same thing nowadays. Like they've just sort of learned that they got to be.
Yeah, you can't be all friendly.
They got to be bosses,
Yep.
right? They're bosses. They run their aspect of Up Next. They're in charge of Sherelle Medical, and Lacey, she's in charge. Miriam's, director of external, and she's got to run it.
Yeah, like you can't, yes, it's good to be friendly. It's good to be nice, but sometimes
Gotta get
when
the
you ask
job
for
done.
something and they're just kind of like, like I get it. Fighters are busy. They're doing this and that, but like they're the importance of getting medicals on time to the to the athletic commission, who's overwhelmed with all the shows they have to do.
Yeah.
When they ask for something, we have to provide it because you can't have like last second medicals, and that was a big issue in the past with me. It was like, man, like I'm trying, like it's like, hey, I need this guy's eyes, and I'm like, I asked him like 10 times, like, well, then kick him off the card. I'm like, it's not that easy, like I really need him on this card. But
well, that's where I think Sherelle, we've developed as a team though, because the medicals is a really tough part. I think all promotions deal with it, but it's follow-ups. You hit them up and give them one day, you got to follow up the next day, right?
I think the last two events especially, we've cleared medicals way sooner than ever.
Oh, last event was amazing. I think a week out.
Yeah, week out. Yeah, like I think we had one application for a guy that literally was a last minute replacement. We're like, done. I'm sitting there. I'm like, usually fight week, I usually was so stressed out I would get sick, and I'm like, okay, I'm like, who's gonna text me, say something? I need this and that.
The best is when he asked me like, "What's new? Anything going on?" I'm like, "No, my phone is quiet.
Yep.
We're all good."
Yeah.
I'm waiting for the news. And always. All right, guys. Well, this has been great, George, the GOAT. We appreciate all you do. You are the GOAT, brother.
Thanks, George.
Thank you guys for having me. Appreciate it.